Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Juggernaut, and this will be my Let's Play in Stellaris as one sector of the Imperium of Man. Well, let me explain a little bit about how this is going to work, and let me show you the actual sector that we're going to be playing as. So, I'm going to be playing as the fictional Halcyon sector, and well, here's the basic idea behind it. I've put a bunch of 40k mods, at least all the ones that are up to date, into Stellaris. 3.8.4 I think is the latest version, and I've made a sector within the Imperium of Man, which, well, will hopefully expand in this galaxy that we're going to generate, and we're going to have a fun Stellaris playthrough. A lot of people try and play the Imperium of Man as a whole in Stellaris, and it really doesn't work all that great with this game. The main reason is the game's too bloody small, right? The Imperium is, what was it, an empire of 1 billion stars. In Stellaris you have 1,000 at the most, and you start off with 1. Now sure, you can have a 40k Imperium themed run, but it doesn't really portray the grandiose nature of the world and the universe all that well. This way, I think I have the perfect balance between realism and what's feasible and doable in the game. I'm doing the universe justice, but I'm also, you know, having fun within the game and working within its parameters and within the confines of what is actually possible here. With that said, I'm going to be going with under one rule, the origin, which is basically the lore and the story for the Unification Wars, except the light version of it, without the Thunder Warriors and without as much death and destruction. But yeah, basically you have a legendary ruler, which in this case will be a randomly generated name, Kentigan Voke. Kentigan Voke. There we go, I can pronounce names, I'm sure. I do have the latest Imperium of Man name list as well, and I made sure that this was actually properly working. Those of you in the Stellaris Facebook group might know that I've been struggling to get one of the older mods with the name list and everything working. I've gotten this one to work properly, and I also have the 40k ships and so on and so forth. The species traits have also been messed with a little bit. They have perfected genes, which I think is because of this, which is leader lifespan 25 years, and I put venerable on there because leaders in the 41st millennia tend to live for a ridiculous amount of years, like 300-400 at least, especially some of the more valuable ones and some of the more important and influential ones, rejuvenation treatments and so on and so forth. That's all the thing. So very important. Wasteful and repugnant. Repugnant, the flavor text says physical appearance. No, it's just that it's very difficult to entertain people in the grim dark, so yeah. It's, you know, amenities minus 20%, wasteful, pretty obvious. Comfortists, and extremely adaptive. Extremely adaptive because I want to settle all kinds of worlds and not have to terraform them, because terraforming in the 41st millennia is it isn't. Well, there is some primitive terraforming tech, it's just that it doesn't really work all that well. I point to the Eisenhorn series, where they try and terraform a world to make it a little bit more sunny and beautiful, and they do that for about a day, and then they get horrible storms and just break the planet's weather, basically, and just make it a hellhole, so there you go. It's in the second book of Eisenhorn Malice, so yeah. Anyways, enough about my nerdy literature that I've read. Essentially, this is what we're going to be doing. I am starting with a species advantage, a significant one, because I have more points than you usually get in a game like this, but I will set challenges for myself and play this game and roleplay this game in such a way that, let's just say I'm not going to be able to steamroll over everything and play as I usually do. The big part of it is going to be, well, for one, planets are going to be in this playthrough extremely specialized. So one planet is going to be an agri-world, it's going to produce just food. The next one is going to produce just energy. The next one, just alloys. The next one, just minerals, etc., etc. You get the idea. Which actually is, I think, an economic benefit if you don't lose any of the planets. However, I'm also going to be dividing up my navy into battle fleets of the subsectors. So yeah, all of that is going to be, like, we're going to work out all of that, don't worry about it. It's just that a battle fleet is on its own and a subsector is on its own, unless something horrible incredibly horrible happens, right? So I'm never going to be able to use the full might of my empire in one dot of the map, except, well, at the very beginning where I only have one ship, right? But I'm going to sort of put all sorts of challenges out there for myself. Obviously, no terraforming. The technology has to stay reasonably within 40k, etc, etc. So all these extra challenges and roleplay on top of what we have already. So enough explaining, let's get straight into it. But before we do, I'm just going to take a second because I forgot to add one mod into this. So I'll just do that really quickly and I will see you in the game. Oh, and it occurred to me that I probably should give you my mod list as well before we actually begin with the proper video and the proper Let's Play. So, in load order, here are the mods that I'm going to be using. You can find all of them on the Steam Workshop page. At the time of recording, they are all up to date and they work, even though the text and the actual version of the mod might tell you it doesn't work, it does. So, yeah, let me just browse on over into the playset. Here we go. And in load order from first to last, it goes like this. Cyber X Khan's assortment of name lists for Stellaris, Dynamic Leader Cap, Real Space 3.8, UI Overhaul Dynamic, and the submod UI Overhaul Dynamic plus Tiny Outliner V2. We Are the Imperial Navy. That one actually says it's made for Stellaris 3.0, but it works in 3.4 perfectly. Warhammer 40k Emblems, More Trait Points and Picks, and Infinite Sectors Revisited. That one's very important for some of the roleplay aspects of this Let's Play later down the line. And without any more delaying and beating around the bush, let's get into it. And beneath the distant stars, Emperor's light shall cover us. We are warriors divine, we have come to sanctify. Let the banners fly in wind, let the fires be now lit. We have come to purify, we have come to sanctify. And beneath the distant stars, Emperor's light shall cover us. We are doom and we are faith, marching for the human race. He is God of humankind, he is wisdom, he is light. We are prophets of his will, and his wishes we fulfill. And in fulfilling those wishes, the Halcyon sector was created in 023 M41. And the Star Lord, or rather Sector Lord, Commodus woke, except it wasn't Commodus folk, was it? And beneath the distant stars, Emperor's light shall cover us. We are doom and we are faith, marching for the human race. He is God of humankind, he is wisdom, he is light. We are prophets of his will, and his wishes we fulfill. And in fulfilling those wishes, the Helcion sector was created in 023 M41. And that is where our story begins. Sector Lord Kentigern Voke takes command of the Helcian sector and is tasked with expanding it. Halcyon sector will start off from one small system here. Currently it's, well, not a sector at all, it is merely a small system with a tiny patrol fleet of 3 Tempest-class corvettes assigned to it and most bare-bones essentials for any planet. However, the idea is to turn this sector into an entire segmentum of the Imperium of Man. Within the next 200 to 300 years, the idea is to fund this sector, but primarily have it expand on its own, as there are colonizable worlds in the region. There are also many Xenos, but there is research to be gained, knowledge to be acquired, materials also, and Well, there is everything a sector would need here to expand itself in this part of the galaxy. Of course, should the need arise, help will arrive from the core Imperial worlds further out, but it is unlikely to be here on time and to make a difference. Instead, it is up to the Sector Lord to efficiently command his bureaucracy and all his subjects and expand this sector into a proper segmentum, and in doing so, hopefully keep all the larger forces that work against the Imperium at bay. For the enemies that the Sector Lord will face are mere local empires of Xenos. Small, on a galactic scale, insignificant adversaries, but for the sector itself, they might prove quite a bit more than significant. However, it is Halcyon's dream and objective to overcome all of these difficulties and expand in the name of the Imperium. The Empire has been losing territory and losing sectors and planets left and right for a millennia now. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they won occasionally and formed a stable segmentum, a new one, outside, well, at least relatively far, if not outside of the reaches of all the main enemies of the Imperium, that being Chaos, the Orcs, the Eldar, the Tyranids, so on and so forth. But those enemies will only stay at bay for so long. For those that aren't quite familiar with Stellaris, I'm talking about the endgame threats that happened around 240 to 250, I think? That's 2,450 to 2,400-ish. We will have to deal with those as well, but for now we are tasked with dealing with more local problems. And with that said, we must acquire new technologies and import new stuff from the wider Imperium. Of course, that is what this quote-unquote research thing is going to be. We're not actually discovering new technologies, we're just acquiring them from out back, as they say. Right, Theodore Sternberg, skirmisher, I think, for you. He is a admiral, and he's in command of Battlefleet Gothic, according to this, except it's not going to be Battlefleet Gothic. We're going to rename the battle fleets, and this is how they're going to be organized. So, this is going to be a Battlefleet Helcian, because it is in the Halcyon system, in the Halcyon sector, right? Our Halcyon Prime sector, I guess. Let's change that as well. To Halcyon Prime. Where is that? Planets and sectors. Halcyon Prime subsector. There we go. Because we are going to be eventually, even if we conquer all of this, one giant sector, right? Which means all of these under us are going to be small little subsectors. I say small, they are going to encompass dozens of worlds, not just the regular 4 jumps away that you get in the base game. Oh no, this is going to be much better. And can I just say that this UI is infinitely better and more pleasing and easier to work with. Thank you to the mod authors for enabling that. I mean, this is just, at the very least, on a 1440p monitor. I mean, this is just beautiful. This is just a pleasure to play and work with. Everything is so big, I can read things clearly and easily. I don't have to squint and get in closer because it's a third of the size, and this is even without UI scaling. I should probably turn it up. Officially, I think I'm supposed to turn it up to like 1.1 or 1.2 or something. No need. This is perfect. Look at it. Alright, so we made first contact with some Xenos right here. Interesting. So we're going to put Edmund Helmarwer on that right now, and we made first contact with mysterious alien race in the Halcyon system. For now, we've codenamed them the Chi Menace. Interesting. I don't know what they are, or how we establish contact with them, but okay. Fine. Halcyon Prime is in uproar following the news of unidentified ships sighted in the void. Their intentions are known. It will be prudent to assume the worst. It would, and in fact that is what we're going to do pretty much immediately with our policies. So, expansionist policy, unrestricted wars, oppressive vassalage, indiscriminate bombardment. I might vassalize some well, not Xenos. Suffer not the Xeno to live, right? The Imperium's politics and policy on Xenos is pretty much flat out obliterate all of them. However, there are certain planets and subsectors that, shall we put it generously and say, delay the inevitable purge of the Xenos by quite a bit. And what I mean by that is they do trade with them sometimes. Oh yes. Now, we're not exactly going to be doing that because, well, we're a pretty big sector. We're going to have multiple battle fleets and... Yes, okay, these won't be proper-sized battle fleets like Battlefleet Gothic. I wish... the Imperium wishes every sector would have its own battle fleet, and then there probably wouldn't be much to fight around because they would just obliterate everything. No, like a battle fleet is often in charge of several sectors, and often several sectors have no battle fleets protecting them, so it's not as good as that, but obviously, like I said, we're working within the confines of the game. So with that said, though, each subsector will, as I said, be left on its own, unless Chaos invades, or the Tyranids invade, or something like that. So yeah, just keep that in mind for future reference. That's also a way to stop me from snowballing, right? So each subsector has to deal with its own problems, its own neighbours and everything. All the resources will be pooled into one enormous fund, that being the sector fund, but ultimately, yeah. We could also release some subsectors as vassals as well. Wouldn't be the worst idea in the world just to keep things interesting, but we'll roleplay that as we go along. For now, though, slavery allowed, purge allowed. I will treat some of the Xenos as mutants, by the way. If they're humanoid and they look a lot like humans, yeah, we're going to work it in that they're mutants and we're just going to enslave them and delay their... Let's shift and then bend the lore a little bit to fit into Stellaris. It's not going to be like a proper Warhammer 40k playthrough, because it's not really possible, right? We have to sort of bend and weave a little bit to fit it into Stellaris. This isn't an overhaul mod, this is just a couple of reskins and stuff. Alright, so robotic workers completely outlawed. You could argue that servitors are robotic workers. Not in this sense, no. Robotic workers are pretty much from the get-go a form of AI, and AI is prohibited in the Imperium. It is to be destroyed on sight, and in fact, servitors are not really robotic at all. They are in fact human. They are a mix of... I mean, you could argue they're cyborgs, you know, a mix of human and machine parts, but yeah, just no. Not in the sense that this game portrays them. Robotic workers will be outlawed. Population control will be allowed, of course. Straight policy wealth creation. Militarized economy, obviously. Initial border status closed. First contact aggressive. Resettlement allowed. Orbital surrender acceptance prohibited. We will not allow anyone to surrender from orbit. We will have to actually get down on the surface and fight for the planet and take it over. We will take no, what's the word? We will take no prisoners. Information quarantine is an edict that we're going to have pretty much 24/7 at all times. And then also, there's a funny little thing you can do. You can pair that edict with one vision. And you can see that adds up to 100% ethics attraction, right? Governing ethics attraction, 100%. 50% from this, and 50% from the edict I just shown. I just showed, sorry. Now, does that make it 66%, 75%, or 50%? How does it add up? Does it stack, and how much, and in what way? Well, I've done some testing. It is actually 100%. Yeah. It is actually 100%. So with these two combined, and mind you, this doesn't cost anything, because I'm within my funds. So this is just 12 for nothing. Plus, we can increase this by a fair bit later down the line, so this is nothing. This makes it so we will have no deviancy whatsoever, and the only factions that will pop up right here are those that are going to support us. That means we're going to have authoritarians, xenophobes, and militarists. All three of which I can appease fairly easily. We're never going to have any of these. Now, I don't mind spiritualist factions. They're fine. Not in the way the game portrays them, though. So that's going to be the one sort of... I don't want to call it exploit, because it's not. But it's going to be the one sort of gamey thing that I'm going to be using to keep my empire stable. Because, like I said, I am going to give myself a fair few handicaps. Mostly because this game's not exactly difficult. I mean, Right, unifying promise. Right, yes, this is the agenda to improve ethic-based agendas. Right, yeah, sure. We will do that. Like I said, the game's... You can make the game artificially difficult by giving the AI a bunch of bonuses, but I don't find that fun at all. Like, not one bit. If the AI can just have twice as much technology as I can for no apparent reason whatsoever, and just twice as more resources, then that's... Well, I apologize, but it's kind of boring and dumb, in my opinion. I don't really see the point in doing something like that. To me, it's much more interesting if the AI can, you know, actually put up a fight, and, use its smarts to outwit me, and, well, if that's not possible, then I would much rather handicap myself to any extent necessary, just to be able to, you know, have a little bit more fun in the game than just artificially pump the AI and feel like I'm playing against a cheater all the time. I completely understand the opposite as well, that, you know, people don't see it like that always. Like I said, nothing wrong with that. But it's just not for me. Right, so...
Recon pass completed.
I'm going to get unifying promises gender. What does this actually entail? Counting on us to grow into a spacefaring empire in the coming 40 years. We should strive to expand our nation by controlling system, colonizing planets, and if we encounter other empires, signing defensive pacts. Yeah, that's not going to happen. These two will, though. After 40 years, his trait will improve for every 15 points of progress we've made. Right. Okay, so basically get a move on is the general gist and idea of what we're supposed to be doing. Okay, I would then like to purchase some of this, so that we can start actually colonizing stuff. I need 15 more metal. Do I want to build another construction ship, or do I want to... No, I want a colony ship first. Right, there we go. And we can speed this up to speed 2. Leave the challenging anomalies be for now. We can always come back and do them later. Not the most important thing in the world.
Recon pass completed.
And there we go. Commendable initiative always for the Habitable World Survey. I know that pretty much off the top of my head. I don't need to read it. And there we go. Alright, so soon, well, at least relatively soon, we're going to have our first colony. And I'm going to get myself the first league. Okay. Begin the precursors, the first league event chain. I think these are one of the worst ones, right? In terms of the precursors that you can get. That's fine though. I don't mind. Covered an alien artifacts from. We've covered artifacts from an alien civilization on whatever that is. If we have learned from these, if what we have learned from these artifacts is correct, this civilization was some sort of confederation that consisted of many different alien races. They called themselves the First League, and appear to have coexisted in relative peace some 2 million years ago. This is so much easier to read when I'm not squinting at a tiny little box. Look at it. Glorious. Alright. You can also see the icon a hell of a lot better. Like, you can actually see the picture and see the guy in the gloves and everything doing archaeology. I mean, I didn't even know this is what it looked like. It was so tiny on the monitor. Never mind. Sorry, I'm gonna stop gushing about the mods and how infinitely better this UI is than what Paradox could have come up with, but never mind. Though the something-rather system lies in the region of space that seems to have made up the... Though the system lies in the region of space that seems to have made up the core of their territory, a partial map found among the artifacts indicates that this First League may have covered a significant portion of the galaxy before its eventual collapse. Right. Okay, cool. Interesting. Do I want to build something on Helcia Prime? I think I do. This gets a little bit of taking used to. So the buildings are now over here, the districts are over here. It takes about maybe 30 minutes to get used to this once you start playing with it, and then you realize that this is actually infinitely better as well. Just trust me on that, right? Just trust me on that. Okay, so for now, we're going to clear these out in just a second. We're going to make the Empire's capital, or the sector capital, truly bright and beautiful example of everything that the Imperium can do correctly, which, to be fair, isn't a whole lot, but it can do some things right. And we're going to clear out these sprawling slums, because that's going to give us another pop to play around with. And then I probably want to save up for another... maybe? I think I want to save up for another colony ship to get this. Or maybe I want to build another construction ship. Let's go with another construction ship. We can buy more of this stuff. Population happiness is going to increase. And next up, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to go with the Unifying Promise. Yeah. We're going to go with that. Pretty much immediately. Of course, I do have to rename these titles, so the sector isn't going to have a Minister of Defense, it's going to have a War Master. And for the females, it's also going to be War Master. Although I don't... can we have female rulers? Leaders? I don't think so. Maybe? No, I'm just unlucky. I genuinely do not remember. There was a part of the build that I already had picked up, like from a mod somewhere for this, and I don't know how that came with. And I don't also basically the biggest problem is the name list. Name lists have gone through several changes in Stellaris over the past couple of updates or so. They used to be very simple. And now they require a localization file where they need to point to basically say, right, that's the language this name list is in. And if they don't have that, they don't work properly. And then even if they have that, the name lists are now written completely differently. Like the code, I don't know how to do Stellaris mods, right? I tried, I fiddled around with stuff, and I got parts of it to work, and parts of it still don't work, so yeah, it's complicated, but basically, the idea is the code for the name list is completely different now. You write it out completely differently. It's like switching from C++ to Python or something. Not quite as radical, but basically all the old name lists need to be rewritten from scratch, more or less. And And the reason I'm telling you this is I found a 40k mod list, or sorry, name list that actually works, but I don't know if it has any female names in it, so I guess we're going to find out as we play. But yeah, it's hell to get anything 40k related to work in this game, because all of the mods, or at least 90% of them, maybe even 95% of the mods, are completely outdated. To be brutally honest with you, I'm elated that the ship set works, even though it's just a bunch of pixels and a bunch of pictures that you put together with this, and it's really difficult for this to go out of date, so to speak, because regardless of... Well, I suppose if they add new ship classes, then it will go out of date. But yeah, like I said, it's difficult to have this go out of date, but everything else is, right. All right, so let's colonize this planet and Brugen's world, Curvan, Rin's world, Opus Macarius. Orbital Quill. I haven't played around much with this particular name list. I played around with a different one, and I liked that one, but it didn't work. The planets worked, the leaders worked, the ships worked, although there weren't many. And the ships worked only up until a point, and then those names broke as well after you go past a number of names. So yeah, it was broken, but yeah. Asgard, Phagir, Crastalan. Yeah, any of these will work. I'm just checking to see what we have here. The ship names here are absolutely amazing, by the way. I love them. Character names are pretty damn good. They seem accurate. Seem like something you would read in a novel. As far as everything else is concerned, I suppose we will see. What about the armies? Let me just check population armies. PDF, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PDF. Alright, good, everything works. Those names were also broken in the previous mod list that I used. So, yeah. Alright. Is there really nothing here? Wow. This is just empty. Fine. Let's go up there. I'm going to make something. And we found the Caravaneers. Well, not the most exciting first contact, but first contact is first contact, I suppose. I think, unfortunately, this... Oh, we can go through their space, can't we? Yeah, we can. And we can colonize past their space as well. It's going to cost a little bit extra to get from here to there. That's okay. Right. Building a spaceport or a space station there. How much do I need for another colony ship? Oh, a little bit more of everything. The color of science. I can either get lasers at 90%, or I can get Unity for 10% for 50 years and permanent +4. I think this will be more useful because I don't really want to use lasers. And speaking of, let's go to the ship designer. I really like the new ship designer. It took a little bit of getting used to, but I really like it. I don't want to use lasers. Yeah, I'm going to use kinetic weapons, and I'm going to use torpedoes on most of my ships. And then later down the line, when we unlock, like, autocannons, that looks bloody awesome on all of these vessels, and some other things. But yeah, for now, primarily, it's going to be this. Alright, good, cool. New world claimed. The new colony is the first step to fulfilling the Sector Lord's promise to the High Lords of Terror, I suppose, as well as the local populace of the newly formed sector. Kind of embarrassing to call this sector, because, I mean, it's like 2 systems, but yeah, we're growing into a subsector and then sector of the sector, I guess, first and foremost, because we're going to have subsectors of our own of the Imperium, and then we'll take it from there. So, it's the first step to fulfilling the Sector Lord's promise. The colony ship has been permanently converted, into the administrative headquarters of the new settlement. Work has begun to connect its reactor core to the power grid to supply the growing colony with energy. As colonists disembark in large numbers, makeshift dwellings and shelters have been erected around the former ship's starship's massive hull. Right. So on the basis of what will one day be the first human city on Crestalan. Hopefully the first hive city on Crestalan, but the planet's kind of far away from being a hive world for now.
Anomaly found.
Which is one thing I really wanted, to have the classification be Warhammer 40k. Like Forge Worlds, Hive Worlds and stuff. Unfortunately not really an option. Although you can have like a factory capital, forge capital, trade capital, etc., agri capital. Maybe not agri capital, but you can have agri worlds, rural worlds, etc., which are all classifications in 40k. But I guess Vanilla Stellaris works well enough. But maybe visually, like hive cities and stuff on a planet would have been nice, but no such luck, I'm afraid, for us. Not really an option. Okay, let's purchase some more alloys from the Imperium. Yeah? Because obviously, what galactic market are we talking about? We haven't met anyone, right? Where on earth would I be purchasing this from? I haven't met anyone, but just the Caravanseers, but they don't want to trade with me, so yeah. So where am I purchasing this from? Obviously, the wider Imperium, eh? I'm really proud of how I'm justifying this. As you can tell, it took a little bit of time and a little bit of thinking and putting of this together. A bit of water, cheers. Alright, so like I said, took a little bit of time, a little bit of thinking, but I'm really proud of how and what I came up with. Because I genuinely think that makes more sense than what the game is telling me. That I'm just buying and selling alloys from a mystical force somewhere. Which I'm not. So there you go. Alright, we're going to have the world of Viridian next. I also want to adopt... Okay, so we're going to need to have a conversation about this eventually, about some of these down here. There's some obvious ones that which I will never get. Diplomacy, never. Discovery, pretty much never. Domination is kind of useless, because I don't intend on having many vassals. Adaptability is actually good. Habitability is nice, orbital damage so-and-so. Building slots can be very nice. Resettlement cost is very nice. This upkeep thing is pretty nice as well. Harmony is here and there. This seems more like a Tau thing, but okay. Mercantile, absolutely not. Politics is not really useful at all. I mean, this is diplomatic weight, and it's like resolutions and stuff, but I'm not going to be engaged in any politics whatsoever, so no. Prosperity is like a fairly solid get most of the time. Unyielding, not very useful. We're going to be attacking most of the time. Supremacy, must have. Subterfuge, again, not really useful. Statecraft can be pretty good. The new council agendas are actually kind of powerful. And then we get over to the final four, which you can't unlock now. You need to, work towards them. Genetics, I like. But it gets a little bit too weird and wacky towards the end, right? Can alter the appearance. Can assimilation of pops into or out of a hive mind. Clone vats produce an additional 1.5 monthly organic pops. Cloning is something that the Imperium, believe it or not, can actually do, and did try and do, at least on several occasions. The problem is, most of the time, it fails horribly and creates ugly mutations. But it is something that the Imperium did try and did do multiple times, and, well, I think in the very founding of the Imperium as well, it was a thing, but, yeah, So genetics here and there. Psionics, pretty obviously, yes. But it's Psychers abandoned. No, actually not. You'd be surprised to find that a lot of the Inquisition are actually Psychers. And they do have psychic abilities. Psychers are also used in warfare. Psychers are what literally pilots all the ships, because without them you can't go to warp. So yeah, psionics, very much a thing in 40k. Heavily controlled, regulated, and feared, yes, but very much a thing. And so are untouchables, which is a cute little story we'll get into later. Incredibly awesome, but yeah, just cute also at the same time. Psychors, and yeah, okay, so building of Psychors, it's here and there. Sight beyond Sight Edict, I don't know what it does. Latent psionic species will unlock their full psionic potential. Psionic assimilation of other species, not really our thing. Breach the Shroud. Okay. From the other side of the warp, I suppose. It's a little bit much. I don't know. We'll see about this. Cybernetics? Just no. I mean, there's just cyborgs and yeah, no. Synthetics? Absolutely not. So we're down to pretty much these two. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I suppose. For now, we grab expansion first of all. And that allows us super colonies as well, which is a very useful agenda. Well, it's not that useful for most, but for us, I feel like it's going to be very useful indeed. Just because of how we're going to be approaching this, and just how many worlds we're going to be colonizing. Looks like we ran into something else as well. Ah, the space whales. Right, okay.
System reconnaissance completed.
Well, at least they're neutral until we attack them. Hans Schreither. Sphere, right? No, there's an R in there. Hans Sphere. Private mines, food, or... Yeah, let's go with sciencey stuff. The extra bit of food and whatnot is really not that useful. And there we go. Tell you what, though, I think this is a good place to end it. We've established how the Let's Play is going to work, and I've touched on... I've outlined the core principles of the sector, what we're going to be doing economically, militarily, and so on and so forth. Oh, by the way, each subsector will also have its own armies, so really every subsector of this Imperium of Man sector here is going to function as its own sort of independent entity most of the time, and that's just like another way of adding a little bit of extra challenge. So yeah, I've touched on all of those things, and I think this makes for a pretty good episode 1 or episode 0, whichever you prefer. And then starting from the next one, we can actually play a little bit faster and a little bit more, and well, see what our first enemies and our first challenges are going to be. Though we are starting in a very good position in the galaxy. We're tucked away in this corner, and then we can cut across this and then go up here, and not have to face a war on multiple fronts. At least hopefully not. So yeah, we can sort of stay tucked in until we build ourselves up a little bit. So we had a pretty lucky start. Economically we're doing, yeah, could have been better, could have been worse, but yeah. Alright, anyways, that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Like, subscribe down below if you enjoyed the video, and we'll stay tuned with the rest of the content I produce on this channel. Until next time, have fun, take care, and bye-bye. And the stop recording hotkey doesn't work. I've installed Windows 11, by the way, this is just bonus information for the end of the video. All of my problems have gone away. I had screen flickering, I had drivers crashing, I had... my CPU was overheating as well. Now it's doing a little bit better. I had all sorts of problems, right? Most of them are gone. Pretty much all of them are gone. I now have this issue where the stop recording button won't work. The start recording button works, the stop recording button doesn't. They're the same button. It's a toggle switch, right? So I have to Alt-Tab and then do it manually.